Good evening all, hope you're all well. As you can see, I'm here to give you an update on the characters that I started almost 2 weeks ago. And finally I've only finished 4, but there's 4 ready to go and done. So I thought I'd show you the finished products. If you looked at the start when I started them, they weren't very promising because they were very bland and boring with just 1 or 2 of the base coats. But here is, let me get some of that light away, it's a bit too harsh. Is that better without the light? Might be. Can you see the details though? Some of the gold swirly bits and the red on there with the Celtic knots. More Celtic knots up there. And a Celtic triquetra over there on the gold. So his trim is of the browns with some highlights in, and he has a gold cloak underneath his coat and gold gloves with some gold detailing on the sleeves. His beard all shaded in to give it a bit more dimension, and his face looking quite stern with a rather interesting hood on his cloak. I've put felt on the bottom, so whichever surface he sits on now, it's going to be soft and not so damaging. Still haven't thought of a name for him, and he's got to go to the shop tomorrow. So I don't know, but I'll think of something. But that was, I enjoyed doing that. I really did. So this one is also very special. I really liked doing this one. It was difficult to get started because I couldn't imagine what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to do a winter scene on him, but I didn't know if there would be enough colouring to make him interesting. However, he's not my favourite, even though he was first. Now he is. And he looks very much a part of winter with his white trim and white beard and the blue icy shading. So here he is a bit closer. There's some snow on the ground with trees, reindeer, more coniferous trees, a moon and stars. And over there you can see some wind blowing from this other direction. The frills, very textured with carved in frills, gathers some stars and snow on the back coming down. More stars and snow all over his cloak. Another tree with an owl in it just on there. Another deer in a different stance, a moon and stars, and the wind blowing. Very wintry, and I love the folds and the folds in the cloak. I really love the way he whittled that. It was really lovely, and he has a unique face. His eyes are also set back quite deep, so they also look fairly stern. And of course his head is completely out of proportion with his body, but that's the style of the whittler's whittling. It's caricatures and it's different. And when I finished with the painting, I put the fine fairy dust glitter around the trim, both on the hood, the cape and the bottom, and he also has some nice soft felt underneath. So he's finished off really nicely. Really love the way he turned out. And those trees as well, I just loved doing that. The deer, that was very difficult to do that actually, because it's very tiny, and the tiniest details, having to focus on that really strained. And I usually have just this light to work in. It's not that brilliant, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. It's better than I thought it would turn out, and I'm really glad I went with the winter scene of the winter silhouettes. Obviously it should have been a bluer background with the darker silhouette for nighttime, but I liked the winter, the white and the green. It's really lovely. I like this character, and I'm glad I went with that, because this is such a plain side that makes a nice opportunity for a bit of a canvas. So there you go. Winter Santa. Yeah. Then the two that I was really worried about, because it was so stark to start with, and I did say I was going to do something white. Well, here they are. Here they are with holly on. So it's white all over with little red trim details. There's red and green dots all over this part of the trim and that part there of the trim that goes just above. He has holly on his sleeves, the red trim on the cuff, holly, berries, leaves and stalks all the way around. And in between all this red lines here, there are tiny little, I don't know if you could see it that close, tiny little green dots to match the leaves. And he has these metallic tan mittens on, and his sack has lovely swirly green little patterns all over. His hood also at the back, and a little robin sitting on the holly. And his face, the eyes are not so deeply set, so a little bit more weary looking. But still, I was really worried about the total whiteness of everything, because everything had to be white before the detail went on. And after I've put in some, I don't know if you can see it in this light, but I edged everything in a very icy blue. So when you can see it close enough in the right light, I don't know if you can see it actually. There's a blue tint to all the shading. You might see a bit of it there. Oh, there you can see just between the beard and the hood, and all along the bottom edges everywhere there's the blue, the icy blue shading. And that came out even under the arms there and the waist. You can see the blue shading. And his belt strap there, his belt sash straps. So he came out really nice, and I was dreading doing the robin, because that was going to be awfully tricky with the detail. Let's see if that's better. That was going to be tricky to do because it's really tiny. But I'm glad it came out all right. I'm happy with that. And he also obviously has felt on the bottom, so he'll make a nice soft stand there. And him, he was slightly different. He's also got holly, but not as much as the other. And on his hat he has just a little bit of the holly, but on his sides, reindeer. That also was tricky to try and get something painted like that on all these different tool marks, the facets from the tool marks. It was really tricky trying to paint something that wasn't faceted as well. So he came out all right on there with the deer, and this side slightly different deer. And he, instead of holly, has little hearts on his shoulders, because Santa wears his heart on his sleeve. And there's joy and peace. Is it? No, joy and love on the side. You can't see love written so darkly on this side, but there's joy and love, and another little heart and some holly leaves, because after all that's what Christmas is about. And on his trim he has some green stripes going down. So I really liked that sap green with all the red and the brown stalks of the holly on the white background. It worked really nicely. Let's see if you can see it better there. There you go. That deer on that holly and that deer and that trim on the front. And his face as well, also all of the blue shading that just brings out the shadows and the icy coldness of it. And yet still, his face is not so weary as the other one, and his isn't either, but they certainly do have rosy cheeks because they're both rather cold. There you go, the Santas. I'm really happy with the way they turned out. So one of each of those will go to the shop tomorrow, and the other of the two I'll put aside for one or two of the Christmas fairs, because we've only got a few booked. We're not doing much this year. As long as I get enough wood for next year, and whatever equipment is needed, then it's equipment and materials. As long as we've got enough for that, that'll set us up for next Christmas. Give us enough to do for then. And surely we can focus more time on building up stocks ready, instead of, forcing ourselves to work so hard. These two Santas aren't quite finished yet. I have done more on them, but they still need all their shading and details, so they'll be just as detailed and prettyish as those, not so plain. They'll also have special traits and bits of them, especially their staves, and he's got obviously the little lantern, so they're still going to change. So and I like their faces. Look at that face and these eyes, and him as well. His staff gets in the way, but his face is a bit different, isn't it? Very cold ears. There you go. So that's them updated, and I can't wait to get them all finished. I actually just like doing them. I just like painting them, but I can't keep them all. They can't stay in the house. It would drive me insane. You know that TV advert where the guy comes home with his new date, and as she walks out the room, he's surrounded by an entire wall, all four walls, and every surface covered in those horrible ceramic doll things. Well, yeah, that's what this house would look like if we didn't get rid of them. So, yeah, they've got to go, even if I like them. So, yeah. And hopefully we'll be able to give some of these beautiful ornaments to family and friends for Christmas as well, because they're things that can come out every year and can be passed on through generations. I think they make lovely presents because they're something that you don't have out all year, and it's something special to unwrap them, just like all your Christmas ornaments and decorations every year, because they all bring meaning and they're all connected with some or other lovely feelings and traditions. So I think that's why we do them, because I love doing that. So there you are. I also want to take the opportunity right now to say thank you to everybody who's been following what we've been up to and the very slow start of our journeys. But thank you to our new subscribers as well, because we have some new subscribers. I'm really grateful that we're reaching even just a few more people. I mean, a lot of people would sniff at 32 subscribers. To me, that's huge, because it's 32 more people who are just sharing, enjoying what I share, and hopefully would find something in what we do that inspires them. And also, I don't just do it for other people to try and inspire them, but I also like to know what other people are doing, because you guys might be doing something that I am not, and that you might be able to inspire me with. So please do comment, please do share, put your 2 pennies worth in. you know, because it's certainly worth a great deal more than 2 pennies to me. I'm not just here to boast or brag or anything like that. I'm not craving for attention or fame. I just want to share the things that we do so that other people might not just know what we do, but be inspired to do something for themselves as well. Anything that you love, anything that you have a passion for, anything that you have a yearning to do, or something that feels important, do it. If I can do it, anybody can, because I have not got a clue what I'm doing really with YouTube. I'm still winging it, and I'm still winging it with everything that we do. We're just getting stuck in and having a go, because if we don't, we'll never get started, we'll never do anything. So from what started off as a coping mechanism, Whitlin has finally led to some lovely characters and possibilities and hope and light at the end of the tunnel, radiating enough so that it's glowing right the way through the tunnel. So I hope that you like these little characters, but even if you don't, that's okay, each to their own. Not everybody likes the same thing, but I just hope that you enjoy following on the journey with us. Do tell me what you're doing with yours. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Take care. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.